Good afternoon to all of you.
Good
Afternoon, sir.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
All right, so let us proceed and complete the chapter of investment model today. All right. See, in the last class, I discussed with all of you about various models of investments, and out of that, I had to discuss one of the models which is really important for all of you, and that is the public-private partnership model. Fine. So let us discuss that today. See, public-private partnership model, how this term actually has evolved, and how have we come to know about this as a concept, as a viable concept for various economies to actually adopt. See, primarily speaking, this particular word that is called as PPP, that is public-private partnership, it's a word which actually had been popularized by the World Bank. So it is primarily an idea of the World Bank, and the World Bank started promoting this concept across the globe. Now, see why? Because I told you in one of my lectures that the World Bank is primarily responsible for the development of infrastructure, and for that purpose, this institution extends loan or advances to the member countries. And the developing economies, including India, had been the borrowers or had been the one of the biggest borrower from the World Bank regarding the infrastructure projects to be built up in India. So, in the context of that only, the relevance of World Bank has to be understood. So, the World Bank realized that extension of loan by the bank itself will not be able to serve the entire purpose of course addressing the demand of huge amount of loan across the globe. And only you can see a country like India, it needs trillions of dollars to be spent upon the infrastructural aspects. Now, that much of money is definitely difficult to generate by the World Bank, and that too only for India. So, thereby, the logic suggested to the World Bank that there has to be a certain model under which the public and private sectors can coordinate and cooperate to actually ensure the supply of credit and advances to the Indian needs of infrastructure. So, in the light of that, this particular model actually got developed. What is this model all about? Let us see on your screen. I hope this green screen is being shared to all of you. It's visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Now, see, it is public-private partnership. Now, what is public-private partnership? It's basically a partnership between the government or the government agencies with the private companies. So these two entities will come together, will join their hands for the purpose of delivery of public goods to the public or to the people, to the common people. Now, this public goods, nothing, it is basically in terms of infrastructure like bridges, ports, airports, fine. and let's say buildings, etc. I mean, these all actually will be part of the public goods only. So, of course, this public good will be public goods actually to the common people. Now, for that purpose, we need to understand that the government has of course, an obligation under the Indian Constitution to deliver of course, the good things or deliver the public goods to the common people in India. Fine, that is one thing we have to keep in mind, that the government is obliged, all right, constitutionally obliged, morally obliged to offer of course, the public infrastructure. Fine, that is what actually is the obligation on the part of the government. Fine, but why this private sector will come for this particular public goods delivery? That is a major question we have to first of all understand and address. Fine. See, the private sectors will come because of multiple reasons. First of all, I told you in one of my lectures. See, private sector is always motivated by the spirit of profit maximization. All right, so they have to earn good amount of profit, and that is actually their first and the foremost objective. Fine. Then their second objective is to, of course, work with the government so that it will increase their or improve their goodwill in the market, goodwill in the market. Third objective is obviously that it will not only improve their goodwill in the market, rather they will be able to, and of course, perform the task smoothly because the government is always at their side. All right, so their task or their performance or their, let's say, activities will be done smoothly. Why? Because the government is on their side. So, of course, their economic activity would be hassle-free in India. All right, so it will remain hassle-free in India. That is another very important aspect. Fine. Then, apart from this so-called smooth, hassle-free activities that will remain there in India for the private sectors, they will also get the benefit of the government protection in terms of law and order support to the private sector. So, see, I mean, these are the obvious benefits for the private companies to come along with the government to actually work for the government objectives, that is delivery of public goods. But the fact of the matter is that they are still motivated by this profit. Fine, they're still motivated by this profit. I'll talk about that, how this is going to be addressed. On the other hand, if you see the government, of course, the government do have, or rather does have, their obligation to provide the basic services to the public at large. But at the same time, they also have an intention or a motive to attract private sectors because of fundamental reasons. One is that private sectors are having the exposure for the capital capital from domestic and international market or global market. All right, so of course they can bring huge amount of capital. Third, private sector also has the exposure with the new technologies that are required to build up the infrastructure. So that is another very important factor. Third, oh sorry, the fourth, that apart from technology, they also enjoy a better managerial aspect to manage the infrastructure in a time bound manner. They can construct the infrastructure. They can, of course, provide a better work culture in terms of management of those infrastructure. So these are the obvious reasons that why private sectors are also leading in many of these infrastructure projects. Fine. So that is another very important aspect. Fifth, of course, they have exposure exposure to international infrastructure, international world class, world quality infrastructure basically. So they also have the exposure to have the international world class infrastructure facilities. So of course their exposure, their capacity, their capability, in fact, of course, with these all fundamental factors, the government also needs someone who can support the government agenda of building up the infrastructure for the country. Fine. But the problem lies in the fact that how this private sector and why this private sector will come along with the government to construct this infrastructure. See, I told you just now that this profit maximization is the very obvious motive of any private company. And if you construct a public good, let's say the roads, bridges, etc., of course, how the private company will be able to recover their investment or their money, that is equally another very serious challenge. That is another very serious challenge for our country. All right, for the private sectors also, in fact. So the idea is that they need some assurance from the government. So suppose if they invest $1 billion in building up any, let's say, expressways, now they will be needing an assurance from the government that the government is going to assure them that there will be a return of, let's say, 1.5 billion or maybe 1.25 billion for their investment. So either that can be done by converting the nature of infrastructure, or else it could also be done by assuring the government in offering the money by themselves to the private companies. ठीक है, तो या तो सरकार इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का जो नेचर है उसको चेंज करे, मतलब उस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को यूज करने के हम यूजर फी मॉडल पे कन्वर्ट करें, मतलब if you use that infrastructure you will have to pay money. So if the government is changing the nature of infrastructure, that if you use the infrastructure you will have to pay money. Earlier it used to be that anyone can use the infrastructure without paying any money. So but now it is user fee model that is being implemented. That is one method of recovering of the investment. Second method is that of course the government can promise them that the government can keep paying them in certain installments their entire investment on infrastructure. Fine, that is second way of engaging them. Third, that the government can invest their money, and of course private companies can be asked to only manage those infrastructure with the use of latest technologies, with all the efficiencies, and in return to that the government may pay them the money outrightly. All right, so money can be paid by the government to these all private companies directly. So that could be another way of paying the money by the government. So say there could be any method, any model that can be developed under the public-private partnership. That is the moot idea. That is a moot point, in fact. All right. Now the issue lies in the fact that how do we how do we conceive that this public-private partnership will remain intact? What is the basis of the partnership to remain intact? See, any partnership to remain intact, it requires a contract, isn't it? So without contract, there would be no any partnership, and that contract actually establishes the fact of your responsibilities, your liabilities, and your duties towards each other. So therefore, even in the public-private partnership, it works on the model of a contract, and that contract is actually called as concessional agreement in PPP. So PPP functions on the basis of concessional agreement. All right. So what is concessional agreement? So what is concessional agreement? Concessional agreement is a contract between the public and private. It's a contract between the public and private partners under the PPP model. Under the PPP model. Now, what is this PPP model? You can also write that. You can write it down clearly. How do we define PPP model? See, PPP means an arrangement. PPP means an arrangement between government or the government owned agencies between the government or the government owned agencies on one side and a private sector entity on the other side. So private sector entity on the other side for the provision of public assets or public services through the investments being made by the private sector entity for a specified period of time. For a specified period of time. It ensures, PPP ensures that there is a well-defined allocation of risk. PPP ensures that there is a well-defined allocation of risks between the private and public sector entities. Between the private and public sector entities. The World Bank, next point, the World Bank has coined a term private participation in infrastructure, PPI. Private participation in infrastructure, PPI. And in the USA, the word PPP became popular. In the USA, the word PPP became popular. Next point, PPP should not be confused with privatization. PPP should not be confused with privatization. It cannot be even described as it cannot be even described as it cannot be even described as partial privatization. Partial privatization. Since is a process of privatization is a process of shifting the ownership shifting the ownership or management of a service from the government to the private sector. All right, so where were we? So privatization and PPP are two different things altogether. All right, and here we have to keep in mind that normally people get confused whether this privatization and PPP are same. It's not like that. Under privatization, what do? We actually transfer the right of ownership and management to the private companies, which is not done in the PPP. Therefore, these two things are completely different from each other. Fine. Here, the ownership of the asset of the infrastructure remains with the government only. That is the PPP model. However, the private companies may start charging the taxes or the charges or the fees, whatever you can say, from the customers who are using this infrastructure for the sake of only recovering of their investment. But at the end of the day, the infrastructure does not remain into the hand of the or ownership of the private companies. That's what actually we have to keep in mind well when we try to understand these two concepts, that is privatization and PPP. Fine. Now the idea is that the kind of need that is there with the government of India, especially in the context of a mega infrastructure plan. Of course, public sector cannot cope with the need of the hour or need of the total demand of the money that is required in this infrastructure business in India. Therefore, PPP in infrastructure sector has gained huge currency, huge importance in last few decades. All right. And finally, the government of India had to announce, or they had to go for an announcement of a policy for PPP. So, first time the policy for PPP was announced in the year 2006. Fine. So, since 2006, we have been following a well-defined policy regarding the PPP, and through this only we have been trying to promote the building of infrastructure in our country in the context of having both the public and private sectors cooperating with each other. Fine. This is how PPP model actually has developed or has emerged in India. However, there are other indicators also which explain that the PPP in India is nothing new. The point is that we actually have been using this model, especially in social infrastructure, but not in physical infrastructure before 2006. Idea is that even before 2006, there were examples of the PPP in India, especially that was workable or that was working in the sector of social domain. Especially I'm talking about health and education. So in health and education, there were certain models of PPP in India which were quite functional. Fine. For example, you can see on your screen. For example, in Karnataka. Now in Karnataka, already there was a PPP model which was functional in India. That the name of this model was Yeshavini Health Insurance Scheme. Now, this is one of the examples in which what we see that the private sectors, they were cooperating with the government cooperatives in terms of providing the insurance, the health insurance coverage to all those insured people there in Karnataka under this scheme that is called as Yashavani Health Insurance Scheme. All right. Similarly, in Gujarat, a scheme named Chiranjeevi Yojana. Now, Chiranjeevi Yojana was equally another example where the private doctors were invited, especially for the to government hospitals. In fact, in Gujarat, to look after the delivery of pregnant women, especially for the safe and the safety of the pregnant women in Gujarat. So that's another example where the private doctors were cooperating with the government of Gujarat. That's another model of public-private partnership. Only that's Chiranjeevi Yojana in that way. Fine. Similarly, in Rajasthan also and Andhra Pradesh also, various other schemes were already there in India, but these all were primarily working in the field of social sector. Fine. Now, for the first time in the context of, you can understand the physical infrastructure, that is for the entire nation, the model was developed in the year 2006 with the government of India announcing the PPP policy for the first time in 2006, and this model became quite popular after that. Fine. Let us now understand what all models are there inside PPP. See, there are various models that work inside PPP. PPP is a umbrella term. It's a bigger holistic term. Under this, there are various models of PPP that function. One is user fee based BOT model, that is build, operate, transfer model. Second is annuity based BOT model. Third is performance based management or maintenance contract model. Fourth is modified design, build, or turnkey project model. Fifth is Swiss model. Sixth is hybrid annuity model. All right, Ham. Just a moment. Someone has again come to my house. Let me see. You just write it All right, so let's get back. There's some disturbance at my house today because of some repairment work is going on. Fine. So let us start with this issue. PPP. So we're talking about there are various models of PPP, and in those models, I discussed with all of you that there are one, two, three, four, five, six models are there in the PPP. However, the government keeps bringing some new models at various different point of time. Also, I discuss one of those models also after discussing all these six models. So let us discuss first model. In fact, so what is this user fee BOT model? So, say user fee based BOT model simply indicates one thing, that here the public private partnership will work upon a fundamental principle in which the recovery of the investment will be done from the customers or the consumers who will use the infrastructure. So costs are recovered mainly through the user charges. For example, if you travel on an expressway, you pay toll tax. So there are various expressways in India which actually have been constructed by the private players. And the best example for all of you is the Delhi Agra Yamuna Expressway line. If you have ever traveled on Delhi Agra Yamuna Expressway line, you will be having a fair idea that this expressway line has been constructed by the JP Group. And here, the National Highway Authority of India, NHAI, does not charge the toll tax. The toll tax is charged by the JP Group themselves. All right. So even if you have a FASTag on your vehicle, you will have to pay, of course, cash in the form of a toll tax when you cross through the Yamuna Expressway line. So that is an example of user fee BOT model. There are many other examples, in fact, but this model largely functions in the transport sector. So mainly this model is quite popular in the transport sector and also in the energy sector. So transport and energy are the two most preferred areas where this model are highly functional. That is the user fee based model. Coming to the next one, that is annuity based BOT model. See, this model functions where there is no possibility of, or there is less possibility of collecting the investment through the user charges. Or in other words, they the users are not capable to pay the charges whenever they use that particular infrastructure. And I'm simply indicating to all of you towards the rural areas. Now, in the rural areas, if you construct a roadway, you can't expect that a rural person, a village person, will pay you every time a toll to use that roadway. So obviously, there are various infrastructure where it is impossible to collect the user charges from the customers or from the users. It is all due to the socio-economic affordability considerations. So the area where the cost recovery is not possible through user charges due to the socio-economic or political affordability issues, such as in rural areas, even in the context of health, education sectors, etc. So in these areas, this particular model is functional. Then how the model works? The model works on the basis of the contract between the government and the private company. Here the government promises to the private company that government will keep paying the payment in a guaranteed manner. So it works on the basis of the government makes a promise, or rather in the contract only, the government makes a payment guarantee mechanism by making available a multi-year budgetary support. Multi-year budgetary support, suppose someone has invested rupees 1000 crore in building any infrastructure, and the government has promised them to give them, let's say, 100 1020 crore, or let's say 1025 crore, whatever. So the government will make a multi-year budgetary consideration, and in this way government will keep a dedicated fund through which the money will keep going on into the account of the private companies. So this is the reason why it is annuity based. Annuity here refers to annual. So annual based BOT. Fine. That is the model of annuity based BOT. Then comes the third one, that is performance based maintenance contract model. See, this is equally very interesting model when the government resources are limited and there are few supplies which the government has to ensure in terms of the management of those public assets. Basically, the government transfers the right of management only, not the ownership, the right of management to the private sector to maintain those services with the same sort of quality in lieu of a payment decided between the government and the private sector. For example, Delhi Jal Board. I'm giving you the real examples, in fact. Delhi Jal Board. Now, Delhi Jal Board is not only responsible of the supply of water, but also responsible for the supply of the potable water. The quality of water has to be also met. Now, Delhi Jal Board has signed a contract with L&T, Larsen and Toubro. Larsen and Toubro is a private company, as you know. The L&T is supposed to maintain the pipelines of many areas where the quality service has to be provided, in fact. And in lieu of that, the Delhi Jal Board pays a sort of a revenue sharing is done with the L&T in the areas where it looks after the pipeline and the quality of services of water supply. So L&T conducts the regular quality survey and also ensures the collection of the meter readings, etc., on the behalf of Delhi Jal Board. That is done in Delhi itself, and that's an example of performance-based maintenance contract model. So another model where the public-private partnership is being seen or being observed. Okay, that's the third model. Fourth, that is modified design build turnkey project. See, this is one of the most preferred model under the PPP because this model talks about the penalties and the incentives both for the private sector. Under this model, a private contractor is engaged for a fixed fee payment on the completion of a project. So private contractor is engaged for the fixed fee payment on completion of a project. And the payment is done on the basis of the achievement of the project. So the payment is done by the state or by the government to the public sector, private sector, and it is done on the basis of once the project actually has been completed by the private company. Since it includes the provisions of penalties and incentives for the delay and early completion of the project, it is understood to be one of the best models of PPP from the public's point of view. Why? Because public needs the infrastructure in a time-bound manner. And you may have seen many flyovers, many, let's say, roadways, many projects are being constructed for years and years. You may also have surprised that for last 10 years, the same infrastructure is being still constructed. It is all due to that the government has, or rather the PPP model has not been designed on the basis of the turnkey project. Had it been on turnkey project, perhaps the infrastructure would have been completed by the end of the term only, end of the time period only, which was mutually decided between the private and the public sector. So that is the turnkey project, which includes the provisions of penalties and incentives both. Penalties if the private sector fails to construct the project in a time-bound manner, and incentives if they construct it before time, then the government also provides certain more revenue, certain more money to the private sector. That is a turnkey project. Fine. Is it clear to all of you? Then moving to the next one, that is Swiss model. Now, see, Swiss model actually has been quite controversial in India. Swiss model has been proposed in the same time in 2015-16. Under this model, the idea is the contracts are given to the private companies only on the basis of the bidding. The highest bidder to gain any contract from the government is rewarded the project. And the government chooses the bidder on the basis of two things. One is the quality of the product, or quality of the service. And second is also the time taken to complete the project with the minimum amount of user fee charges. All right. With the minimum amount of user fee charges. तो जो सबसे सस्ता यूजर फी चार्ज रखेगा, क्वालिटी अच्छा देगा, टाइम बाउंड कंप्लीट करेगा, उसको सरकार ये प्रोजेक्ट दे देगी. That is Swiss model project, which the Ministry of Highways actually had announced in 15 to award these projects to the private sectors under this model only. Swiss model project, basically. Then you have hybrid annuity model, HAM. Under hybrid annuity model, for a project 60:40, revenue will be raised. All right. 60:40 revenue is to be generated. Fine. In which the private sector will generate 60% of revenue of the total cost. 40% will be given by the government in the form of annual payment to the private company to build up the entire infrastructure. All right. I'm again coming back to Okay, fine. So, welcome back. Hope to continue now. All right. So, let's conclude this story, the PPP, in fact. See, we have discussed about the various models of PPP, in which we have almost concluded the six models that have been a part of PPP. And out of the six models, in fact, the government has been promoting all these models in India. And recently, one model actually has come under the government consideration to promote it. And that is precisely in the context of a landlord model. The landlord model is a recent model, in fact. All right, it's a very recent model. There is landlord model, and it actually has become a part of government of India's new announcement of the PPP model. In fact, so this is landlord model. See, the landlord model is such like it is a model under which the government is going to build up the infrastructure, and then this model is going to be leased to the private sector for let's say for any considerable amount of time or period of time. Maybe it is for 99 years, maybe it is for 29 years. So depending upon the need of the offering of the infrastructure to the private sector, and this private sector will now start operating that particular of course infrastructure. And in certain cases it has also been found on a landlord model that the government offers only land. The land is only given by the government, and then the private sector builds up the entire infrastructure. And this private sector controls this particular infrastructure for a lease period that could be of 99 years, let's say that way. Fine. And then accordingly, the private sectors operate it, and then also private sectors offer this particular infrastructure for the other users to use it, but after paying the fees. All right. So user fees are also charged by the private sector from the other users from the same infrastructure. For example, let's take an example. Have you heard about the Vadhavan port? Anyone? Well,
Yes, sir. It was in news, I think, some time back.
yes. So, what was that news? If you have any fair idea about it.
No, sir.
Okay. Nishant, have you gone through that? It was a part of current affairs, I think so.
Sir, is it in Gujarat?
It is in Maharashtra, in fact.
Sir, it was, I think, to offset the load on Jawaharlal Nehru Port. This was made.
This port has been recently constructed. All right. So now we have 13 major ports in India, seaports in India. And this Vadhva port is the first private sector port in India in that way. So that is basically a port that has come up under the landlord model only. All right. So these are the examples before all of you. So that is another model of PPP, in fact. Fine. So see, these all are the models of PPP. Fine. So these models are functional in India largely in some of the other form, in fact. Okay. Now let us discuss the evaluation of PPP model. In fact, that will be the last segment of PPP. That is critical evaluation of PPP. Now, see, what is critical evaluation of PPP? So we have to understand the positives and negatives of PPP. So positives, if you can give me the point, since you have understood the concept clearly, then I'll talk about the negatives. Can you give me the point?
It decreases the load on the government for construction and in development activities.
Correct. So government financial burden decreases. Okay, fine. All right. Anything else apart from this?
Better technology and managerial efficiency.
Yes. So better facilities are provided. World-class facilities are provided. That's the reason why we have some world-class expressways also now in India, and airports, ports also in India. So better facilities are provided because of the better management and technology. Fine. Anything else?
It gives a boost to local companies, in Indian companies in that sense.
Okay. So it actually increases the feeling of competitiveness.
Yes.
Competitiveness actually increases. All right. So competitiveness increases inside the economy. All right. So other local manufacturers also start improving their quality of delivery of services, basically. Okay, that's correct. I mean, of course, you can see many of the examples, like let's say Tata. Tata has improved in terms of also the building infrastructure. All right, isn't it? And recently, Tata has won the bidding also the purpose of Central Vista project as well, if you know about it. So that's another example of PPP model, है ना? Central Vista project, पार्लियामेंट वाला जो बन रहा है दोबारा. तो ये सब जो है एग्जाम्पल आपके सामने से गुजर रहा है. ठीक है. So of course that's what actually also include. Tata is a domestic company. Still, Tata has won this particular project. It is all due to the improvement in Tata's competitiveness indicators. In fact, all right, that's the point. Then other point.
Sir, it leads to the socio-economic development.
क्या फिर से बोलिए.
Sir, it leads to the socio-economic development.
हाँ, so it leads to the socio-economic development of the country. That is correct. That is true. ठीक है. और
It promotes the idea of a welfare state.
ठीक है. So welfareism is also promoted, but to the extent of course, not the free rider concept, to the extent of the user fee concept. Fine. ठीक है. और कुछ?
सर इसमें कुछ freedom कुछ प्रमोट होगा इंडिया का.
आपकी आवाज ना रुक रुक के आ रही है, थोड़ी दिक्कत थोड़ी समझने में. और फिर से दोबारा बोलिए.
इंटरनेट का इश्यू है सर.
हाँ
सर
हाँ.
इसमें फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर का प्रमोशन आ सकता है क्या? इंडिया का फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर भी प्रमोट होगा.
फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर तो नहीं, लेकिन आप ये कर सकते हैं कि पॉलिटिकल इंटरफेरेंस बहुत कम होगा. In the PPP projects, there will be less degree of political interference for sure. All right, that is another benefit. So political interference
Okay.
will be lesser. All right.
Sir, as infrastructure will increase, so will the GDP.
Definitely. I mean, in the long run, the government borrowing will come down as the money is coming from the private sector. So government borrowing will go down, and this will improve the government fiscal deficit condition. And then finally, the leftover amount, or the so-called, you can say, the saved amount, the government can involve that amount for other, let's say, socio-economic activities. It could be improving health, or improving, let's say, education, improving, let's say, the public services in the villages also. So these things can easily be done through this particular mechanism. And probably, of course, with this, in the long run, the government will, in fact, the country will face a new era of development, new era of growth and development. So that's true. That's another very important, you can say, observation, that it is actually, it brings down the government borrowing. So the government borrowing will come down, and the saved amount will be used for some other developmental purposes. Fine. So that's another benefit of this. That is the advantages of PPP. Then what are the limitations of PPP? Let us talk about that now. Negatives of PPP. Any idea you have?
It will lead to increasing privatization and subsequently capitalism.
So that's what actually I've discussed. It is different from privatization. All right. So, so obviously we have to understand it at the outset. It is not at all privatization, but definitely the idea is that with the user fee charges, it may lead to the exploitation of the consumers in terms of charging exorbitant price if the prices are not controlled or not it's regulated by the government agencies. That is one negative aspect. So you can write about that. Definitely the chances of customers exploitation increases, all right, by charging exorbitant rate of user fee. I mean, of course, no one knows that how much of money is charged by any, let's say, any toll tax operator. I mean, if you pay, let's say, 100 rupees, so do you get the information for what purpose have you paid 100 rupees? And not only that, how many kilometers are going to be maintained by that 100 rupees? So you have no idea about it, whether the roadway that you are going to use after paying 100 rupees may end after 1 kilometer itself. But still you are paying 100 rupees to the toll tax operator. Fine. So there is lack of even transparency as well. Of course, lack of transparency and accountability is equally another negative of PPP. So lack of transparency and accountability, because what kind of accountability do you expect when you pay, let's say, 500 rupees for using an expressway infrastructure? Of course, you also expect that the entire infrastructure must be well lit, properly lighted, even in the evening, even in the night, because you're paying the money either in the morning or at night. Similarly, there's no any reduction in the night charges. But if at all the street lights are not working, the highway lights are not working, still you are paying the same money. So there's a lack of accountability. Fine, that's another negative. Then third,
Sir, in case of any legal battles, they
uh,
blame them.
that is very important criticism. So lack of you can say clarity in the contract or inadequacies in the contract. Inadequacies in the contract will lead to a long battle between the public and private sectors in the courts of India. Because if the private sector faces a loss, they probably may withdraw from the PPP. If the government may face private sectors, let's say the dilly approach, the government may also want to withdraw from the PPP. And if these things are not very clearly defined, that is time bound, that is total amount of recovery, all right, who will share the losses, that is the loss sharing, if at all there's a loss, then who will share the loss? So if these things are not clearly defined, then definitely the PPP starts providing you negative feedback. For example, what has happened in the case of Delhi airport? The Delhi airport metro express line. That's a live example for all of us. So what happened in this particular expressway line? This particular line was being constructed by Reliance. initially. Reliance constructed it, and after operation of this particular metro line, Reliance suffered a huge loss because very few people were using this particular expressway metro line due to one reason, that charges used to be exorbitantly very high. To travel from Dholakua to airport, one has to pay rupees 300. So why any person will pay rupees 300? 300 में तो आप मुखर्जी नगर से airport पहुंच सकते हो taxi करके. So obviously from Dholakua, if you're paying rupees 300 to reach to airport, nobody was using this particular infrastructure. So obviously they face a huge loss. When they face a huge loss, they abandoned this project in between, and they started demanding the loss from the government. They demanded that the loss should be compensated by the government. The government made an argument that if there's a loss, you want that we should compensate. But suppose if there would have been a profit, would you be sharing that profit to the government? So obviously not. So these things are not clearly mentioned in the contract, and therefore the matter went to the Delhi High Court. And for a couple of years, this project remained shut down. People were facing the difficulties, whosoever wanted to use that particular infrastructure. Lands were occupied, infrastructure was locked up, money was locked up, but there was no respite till Delhi High Court had to intervene to that. So these things may happen if at all there is lack of clarity in the contract. So therefore, concessional agreement of PPP should clearly define the roles, responsibilities, duties of every partner. All right. And since there's a lack of regulatory body in India, that's another negative. Lack of regulatory bodies to observe the PPP projects. Just like we have CCI, we have, let's say, TRAI, we have SEBI, but we have no any regulatory body to monitor the functioning of the PPP projects in India. So because of that also the conflict increases and the dispute goes to the court, and finally it takes more than, let's say, an year to get it resolved to the court only. That's another very serious criticism of PPP. Last but not the least, the PPP models are highly concentrated towards roads, ports, airports, and telecom industry. All right, and telecom industry. But the areas like water supply, sanitation, education, health, they have not got the response from the private sectors in the same manner the way these infrastructure have got. All right. So that is another. हाँ,
The new education policy में है ना प्रावधान वैसे?
प्रावधान है PPP को प्रमोट करने के लिए, बिल्कुल. All right. And the last but not the least, this is another very important first criticism of PPP, the need of huge finance. So huge finance is still a problem in attracting good number of private sectors for the PPPs in India. All right, and that is still creating a problem in India. So finally, conclusion should be, you can write the conclusion. I can give the conclusion right now. How do you conclude this PPP issue? Because this question was already asked by UPSC in the mains. You can write the conclusion that PPPs do not mean reduced responsibility. PPPs do not mean reduced responsibility and accountability of the government. The government remains accountable for service quality. The government remains accountable for service quality, price certainty, and cost effectiveness of the partnership. Therefore, it is not only the public and private sectors, they have to assume their role with responsibility. They have to assume their role with responsibility, but also there's a need of increasing the public participation in the operation of PPP projects. Hence, the PPP project should be redesigned as PPPP, 4 type P: public, people, private partnership. Public, people, private partnership. So that should be the solution of the conflict over the PPP projects in India. Because people have a complaint regarding toll taxes, especially in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, many protests have been seen. The violent protests also have been seen due to the PPP toll taxes. So let's also make the public a partner to this project, so that they should also be observing the entire things from their own perspective. And there should be more transparency, which will improve the functioning of any project under PPP. That should be the conclusion. Fine. So in investment model, you have to understand only these all things. So this chapter is now done with.
सर
हाँ,
सर दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट में जो GMR लिखा होता है हर जगह, वो उसके बारे में बताइए.
that is a private partners, a public-private partnership. Basically, GMR is a private company to whom Government of India or the airport authority has offered this particular project to be constructed, or renovation of that project has to be done, and this is a part of the brownfield project. So Delhi Airport was a part of the brownfield project. Brownfield project are those projects which are which are taken for renovation. And if you construct all new project, it's called as greenfield project. Like Hyderabad port was constructed at the greenfield project. Delhi port was on the brownfield project, where GMR was given the responsibility of renovation of this project, And then apart from that, GMR has also been given the right to collect the airport taxes. The airport fees goes into the pocket of GMR because they have constructed this entire airport of Delhi or renovated the airport of Delhi. That is another model of PPP.
सर
हाँ.
अभी जो जैसे अभी सब चिल्ला रहे हैं अडानी अडानी, तो
हाँ.
ये मतलब प्राइवेटाइजेशन है या पीपीपी का ही मॉडल है?
कौन सा अडानी अडानी मतलब?
सर
ये
जैसे
मैनेजमेंट,
जैसे जो सारे एयरपोर्ट्स, अभी काफी सारे एयरपोर्ट्स,
हाँ, तो एयरपोर्ट्स और रेलवे लाइन्स आर बीइंग ऑफर्ड टू द प्राइवेट कंपनीज, रेलवे प्लेटफॉर्म्स.
ओनरशिप भी,
नहीं, नॉट ओनरशिप, ओनली मैनेजमेंट राइट.
सो दैट इज द पीपीपी मॉडल, राइट?
दैट इज पीपीपी मॉडल, नॉट प्राइवेटाइजेशन.
अच्छा, ओके सर. तो फिर सर इतना प्रोटेस्ट क्यों?
वही लोग समझ नहीं पाते हैं. प्राइवेटाइजेशन इज समथिंग दैट यू फाइनली डिसओन दैट. It is not disowning, it is still owned by the state. It is only the management right is being given to them, and obviously once they will be managing it, they will provide you the best quality, best services, but they will also be charging you some more money. अब प्लेटफॉर्म टिकट पहले 10 रुपए का था, अब शायद 50 रुपए का हो जाए या और महंगा हो जाए. तो प्लेटफॉर्म पहले रेलवे का प्लेटफॉर्म कैसा होता था आपको पता है. अब साफ सुथरा होगा, सर्विसेज अच्छी होगी. तो ये अगर सर्विसेज लोगे तो पैसे भी ज्यादा देना पड़ेगा. दैट्स व्हाट द पॉइंट.
जी सर. एंड सर आपने जो एक पॉइंट बताया लास्ट में, जो कंक्लूजन बता रहे पीपल भी, तो सर मीन क्या कर रहे थे कि मतलब पीपल भी कंट्रीब्यूट करें जैसे स्टॉक मार्केट जैसे, या फिर
नहीं, पब्लिक जो आसपास के जो लोग हैं उनका भी पार्टिसिपेशन इसमें होना चाहिए.
सिविल सोसाइटी टाइप?
हाँ, सिविल सोसाइटी वाला बात. ठीक है, तो उससे क्या होगा कि उनकी भी कंट्रीब्यूटी बढ़ेगी कि हमारा ही ये एसेट है.
जी सर. सर मैं एक जीडीपी के अनुसार जो एक आप जो पढ़ा रहे थे कि व्हाई इज जीडीपी नॉट अ गुड इंडिकेटर ऑफ पीपल्स, वो उसमें एक पॉइंट है सर नेगेटिव एक्सटर्नैलिटीज का, कि हम नेगेटिव एक्सटर्नैलिटीज को अकाउंट नहीं करते व्हाइल कैलकुलेटिंग जीडीपी. तो सर एक जैसे अगर सपोज कि कोई रिफाइनरी है, वो पॉल्यूट कर रहा है रिवर, तो वो जो पॉल्यूशन जो लॉन्ग टर्म को नहीं अकाउंट करेंगे, ठीक है सर. तो पर अब सर जैसे नेशनल ग्रीन ट्राइब्यूनल आ गया है, तो वो तो पेनल्टी इंपोज करेगा उस पे.
हाँ, तो दैट्स व्हाट एक्चुअली नाउ वी हैव बीन यूजिंग अ वर्ड कॉल्ड ग्रीन जीडीपी.
ग्रीन जीडीपी.
हाँ, ग्रीन जीडीपी. सो वी शुड रादर यूज ग्रीन जीडीपी मोर देन द जीडीपी.
ओके सर,
राइट.
थैंक यू सर.
तो ठीक है, आज इतना ही रखते हैं. ठीक है, और कल जो है हम लोग लास्ट चैप्टर है कल खत्म कर लेंगे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. ठीक है, सो सी यू टुमारो देन. फाइन.
थैंक यू सर.
थैंक यू. बाय बाय.